Hey everybody, it's Katie from the Health, Wellness, and Chocolate Podcast. I wanted to share with you something today that we are doing inside the Health and Wellness Blueprint. And it's this idea, so I think I've shared with you, there's 6 pillars of weight loss, right? And so we just started our fall session. And so our first pillar is all about self-awareness. And what I have learned is when you are overweight, a lot of times they say that people who struggle with their weight tend to have low emotional intelligence. Actually, most people who are overweight have low emotional intelligence. I think that's how the study was explained. So the very first thing that I do is try to teach you tools to help raise your emotional intelligence. So one of the things that we are doing inside there is called paying attention to your stretch receptors. Now, when you are a yo-yo dieter and an emotional eater, right? Like you'll just jump from diet to diet. Like you'll have some success and then you'll probably lose some weight, but then life happens and then the weight comes back on and you're frustrated. You think you're a failure and then the whole thing starts over again. And I hope by now you've spent enough time listening to this podcast to realize that that's not the case. Like there really is other things going on. So one of the things that we have learned is you really do, because you're jumping from diet to diet, you really lose track or you lose touch with the inner signals that your body will give you naturally for when you're full. Or you'll feel them, but maybe you'll just override them because you're using food for emotional fulfillment. And it's harder to stop when you feel that way. So what I was doing this session was getting people to start focusing on the stretch receptors. So a stretch receptor is nerve endings that are in your stomach. They signal to your brain. They kind of work. They're amazing, but they work in a sense like you'll eat something and it will sense the calorie density, the heaviness of it, how much you've taken in so far, and it will start to send signals to your brain like, okay, we're good, right? And so what happens, I think, and it's probably a cultural thing, is we no longer eat to the point of no longer being hungry. We eat to the point of being full. And there is a difference, right? We are no longer hungry when our stretch receptors start to signal our brain like, okay, you've had enough, right? But we won't stop eating until this point up here where we feel like, okay, I'm full now, right? And so the whole point is if you can back it up and stop eating when the stretch receptors signal, okay, we've had enough, you'll probably effortlessly lose weight without really having to do much. As long as you're eating nourishing whole foods already, you probably won't even need to weigh or measure your food, like or count calories or any of that stuff. If you can just learn how to honor the stretch receptor signals inside your body, that's kind of like the sweet spot where the magic happens. Now, here's the other half of that coin, or the other side of that coin. There's going to be a lot of drama that comes up when you are trying to honor those stretch receptors and be like, okay, it's time for me to stop eating now. And so the challenge I presented to the students inside the blueprint was once you start to feel those stretch receptors and you hear the signal like, okay, I think we're good. And then see if you can stop eating at that point. Now, most of the time in the past, even if you have noticed them, you've either been on a diet where it's like, oh no, this is my chance to eat. I'm going to eat the food I'm allowed to eat right now. Or you've been off a diet and are like, I'm not stopping now. Are you kidding? I don't know when the next time is I'm going to eat, or no way, I'm not on a diet right now. So I'm not going to stop eating whatever food it is that I have. So with the stretch receptors, there comes up a lot of drama. And that is where the magic happens, because you can collect data and learn a lot about yourself. So you have these stretch receptors. And so I want to leave you with this challenge this week. So you have these stretch receptors, and when you sit down to a meal, I want you to kind of tune in. So maybe get rid of all distractions, kind of take time this week to have a few meals alone or as quietly as you possibly can, and eat slow, taste your food, savor it, enjoy it, right? But honor those stretch receptors and see what comes up for you. So when you feel, and you can kind of hear your body saying, okay, I'm no longer hungry, or you start to feel your stomach getting satisfied, right? Not full. Don't wait till then because that's too late. But like when it starts, the hunger is no longer there and you feel satisfied, stop eating and see what comes up for you. Now, I did this because I always do whatever I teach you, I've either done or do, right? I never, I always apply it first and see how it goes, and then I'll share it with you. So when I tried this, I immediately, one of the days was like, there was so much anger and it was surprising to me, right? It was like, well, I don't want to be done eating now. It took me an hour to make this, and it only took about 3 minutes for my stretch receptors to tell me I've had enough. Well, that's no fun. Like all these crazy thoughts started coming up. Like, I don't want to be done eating. I haven't had enough yet. What if I'm hungry soon? Who's going to feed me? I was really looking forward to this. I'm not ready to be done. This was a highlight of my day. Like all these thoughts came up, and it's like, okay, that is such good information because that tells you exactly how food has been serving you in your life. Has it been a source of entertainment? Has it been a source of like a way to comfort or relax or put you in like a little bubble where you're just in the happy place because it's time to eat? Or is it, the only like downtime you have in the day, or the only time to connect with people is to eat with them? That will give you so much information about your life. And now what I have learned from Dr. Gould is he says there's 5 categories that most overeating occurs in. And I'll share that with you right now, if you give me one sec. So he says that, you have this, you have a self-doubt layer. So your overeating or your unwillingness to respect your stretch receptors. Let me say that. Your unwillingness to respect your stretch receptors will probably fall into one of these 5 categories, right? Like this is probably how you're using food is in one of these 5 categories. So you have a self-doubt layer. So maybe you feel like not a lot of confidence in yourself. You're afraid to make the wrong decision. You feel like maybe you lack some skills, and you feel like, well, at least I can eat, right? The next one would be a reward or a frustration level. So it's kind of like, well, I don't want to stop eating because this is the only time I get to relax or have fun or to enjoy life a little bit and have some downtime, right? Like that would kind of be a reward. Or a frustration level would be like, well, this is the only time I have to unwind is to eat, right? Some people feel like that with like the glass of wine at night. Like it would fall under that category, like this reward, idea of a reward. Then the next one would be a safety layer. Like you feel like, well, when I get to eat, I'm in my own little world and nobody can hurt me and nobody can touch me and it's just me and the food, and it's like almost like a romantic relationship, right? Like that would kind of be, it would fall under that safety layer. Then there's the rebellion layer. Like, well, I can't live the life I want to live, or I can't do what I want to do, but at least I can eat this meal and I'm going to enjoy it, right? Like that would be that rebellion layer. And then the last one would be your emptiness layer, where you feel like, well, all I have to do, like, this is the only thing I have going on today is this meal. And then I have to go back to my boring job or my boring life, or, like this is the only fun I get to have. And so you're kind of feeling empty inside. Maybe you're lonely or whatever. I have to eat by myself, but at least I have food kind of thing. And so it would fall under the emptiness layer, right? And you're using food to fill you up where you're really feeling empty emotionally. So what I was hoping you would do then is take this information and challenge yourself and find out, like, okay, let me pay attention to my stretch receptors. And there will, especially if you're a yo-yo dieter or an emotional eater, this is going to dig up a little bit of like drama for you. But I think it's important to recognize it. And I think this is a really good tool to help you raise your emotional intelligence. And it will help you be like, shed some light on, okay, how am I using food? Like, how is this interfering? So the example I gave inside the blueprint was, when I did this experiment and the baby was taking a nap, so I kind of wanted a quiet time to start playing around with this stretch receptor idea. And so I put the baby down for a nap, and it was just me, and I was going to have lunch, and it was quiet. Everybody else was occupied so school was over for the day. It was like probably closer to 1:00. The baby was napping. Like it was just a quiet period. Like a little quiet. So I started eating, and after only a few minutes, the stretch receptors kicked in, and I was like, what? That's it? That's the only downtime I get this whole day? Like all these thoughts started coming up, and I'm like, okay, now I can see, like, I was really looking forward to having some quiet peace, having some peace and quiet, having some downtime, just feeling, nourished and being able to kind of be refreshed, and then knowing like, oh, well, that's it. Now this quiet period is over because I'm done eating. It's like, well, what else can I do that will give me that same feeling of relaxation, that will help me feel just as filled up as food would, but I'm using food the wrong way. Like I am filled up and nourished sufficiently. My body is telling me so, but I mentally don't want to stop because I don't feel like I'm mentally nourished. So what do I need to feel mentally nourished? And it was like, okay, I think I'm going to go outside on my deck. And I was just sharing the story on our call, but I said, I don't sit on my deck very often. It's not very big, but also it's on the side of the house, and I cannot see part of the yard where the driveway goes down to our busy road, and the kids have their swings on the other side of the house, so I can't see them play. And so I don't sit. I don't really sit on the deck much at all. I don't really sit a lot anyway, but I don't sit on the deck much at all. I'll either be on the front steps so I can keep an eye out on most of the activity going on, and also the driveway. I would worry that my 2-year-old would toddle off. So I almost never sit out there, but he was napping and everybody else was occupied. Either they were doing school or they were playing, but everybody, it was just like a quiet, lovely moment. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go on the deck. I'm not going to do anything when I go out there. I'm not going to bring a book. I'm not going to occupy my brain. My brain is telling me it's looking for a break. And I sat on the deck, and I closed my eyes and I just listened to the birds chirping, and I let the sun kind of warm my face, and it was so nice. And it was actually exactly what I was looking for. But, because of 40 years of habit, it's like, oh, I didn't realize that I could get that same satisfying feeling by just going and resting outside and allowing myself that down quiet time without feeling like, oh, I have to be productive. The baby is sleeping. I have to go get things done. I have to do, it was actually saying like, Katie, your brain is telling me it really needs a break right now. So let's let it have a break, and let's allow yourself to, one, honor your body's signals that it's full and done eating, but also honor your body signals saying that it wasn't done relaxing, and let's continue the relaxing part of it. And so I did, and I felt so much more refreshed, but I also was so proud of myself for just not continuing to eat and push through and trying to still get that relaxed feeling. Okay, so that's kind of how, this is an example of how I want you to take this tool and start using it and see how you can apply it into your life. And I have on the website at healthwellnessandchocolate.com a free printable. It's like a grocery list. You can print it out, and then it comes with 14 meal ideas that are quick to make. And, I don't really, they're not fussy, and there's no weird ingredients, but the grocery list you can take right to the grocery store and use it, and then with that grocery list you can make the meals that I mentioned, the 14 meals that I mention in the thing too. So hopefully that'll help you get some nourishing meals, help kind of with that dinner time, like I don't know what to cook kind of feeling. But anyway, I hope you have an awesome day and an awesome week, and I would love to hear how you dealt with the challenge of honoring those stretch receptors and what comes up for you. It's really fascinating. So have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.